Very unbelievable technology. There it is. Cool. So apologize if my button skills are not that good. It may happen. Anyway, I'm here going to talk today a bit about dog enrichment. About myself, I have been at Hartland Valley for 9 years now. I started out as a kennel technician, so I was playing with dogs and doing it all, and like a lot of you guys who come from smaller areas. And one of the things I think at Hartland Valley we still do this, and I really like it for some reason, is we do it all. So if you're a technician, you start in by kind of taking the general care of the dogs, making sure they're getting out of the bathroom. But you do the intake, and if you stay with us, you learn the dogs, you learn how the personalities, you learn how to take an animal away compassionately from the general public. And then we put them up onto the adoption floor, and you become an adoption counselor. So you kind of do the whole process of seeing the animal come into your facility and then leave the facility. And I think that's really empowering. I've been to some shelters where you're just an adoption counselor and they might not even know who the dog is. Which, it's good. I mean, sometimes it's a numbers thing, right? Some shelters have so many animals coming in, it's a numbers thing, that's what they have to do. So anyway, I think it's a privilege working here to be able to do that, to see that whole process of seeing that animal come in, seeing them make changes, seeing the hard work you do, and then seeing them go into life. That's why I'm still here. Cool. So anyway, I'm going to talk a bit about in terms of that, I'm going to kind of take enrichment kind of in those terms. The whole process from beginning to the end. And when you can do that right, I think it not only you're helping the dog, you're helping the community. The community will see this. And there's something, and some of the stuff is based on this. There's a program out there called Open Paw. It's really neat. I like the term, they think of your shelter as the university, like the university of animal care. And I think if you take that attitude, it's just really neat. And it's public though too. That's the other thing. It's not like you have to get certain grades to get in and adopt a dog necessarily, or even drop a dog off. And it's that openness, I think, that is real important. So creating a shelter enrichment program. So what is enrichment? A definition of enrichment. Enrichment refers to the process for improving the environment and behavioral care of confined animals within the context of their behavioral needs. So we just do dogs and cats here. Obviously, you're going to be dealing with species-specific needs. Dogs, we talked a lot about anxiety and anxiousness in dogs. You know, one of the things that can really help with that is chewing. For cats, it's scratching. So if you saw cats here, they'll have the scratch cardboard. I don't know what they're called. Cardboard scratch things. Anyway, they're pretty neat. And there's something that goes with the cat throughout the shelter. And they go in, and then they go with them on their carrier to their home. So it's something they take with them. So it's really nice. So what's the purpose of enrichment? So you'll hear some repeated themes here as I kind of go through. We want to reduce the stress, first of all. We want to make sure we're reducing the stress so we can meet the animal's kind of emotional needs. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. A lot of this has to do with educating your staff in terms of body language, right? So what behaviors are related to an animal that is scared? What behaviors are related to an animal that's frustrated? and educating your staff about that, so then they can be proactive about it. Well, what can we do about this when we see this in the animal? And so right at the beginning, when the animal comes in, we really want to start to look at that. How can we make the environment welcoming for that cat or that dog? I'll try not to, I'm dog specific, but I think cats and dogs are the two most popular companion animals, and so, but a lot of this is very similar, and cats always get pushed down, but cats are just as important, I think. Provide appropriate stimulation and experiences to maintain mental and physical well-being. And you'll see as we go that, and by what I mean by appropriate is I really think it's important to start looking at the individual. So one of the things we do here is we start tracking the animal from some of the basic functions of the animal right from the beginning. So is the animal eating? Are they eliminating appropriately? And then how are they interacting with people? And what are their motivations? We want to know what their motivations are. Do they like to chew toys? Do they seem like they're being dog social? Is this a dog-centric dog or a people-centric dog? Is this dog stuck on the person, or is it, are we dealing with anxiety issues when we see that? So really looking at the individual so that we can do individual enrichment for that particular dog. Does that make sense? And then that's educating the adopters and the public. This is kind of final outcome, but you're an example. How do we take care of this animal? And it's spread. The other part of this too is your volunteer base. Anybody else that comes in to help with the shelter they're seeing what you're doing, and the word will spread. So be an example. All right. So some things that we know about dogs. Hopefully I don't lose my voice. So dogs are sensitive to environmental changes. So they have a hard time generalizing. So some of the stuff you may have heard before from some of our other speakers. So they have really a difficult time generalizing, and usually the behavior that they're seeing is in relationship to a direct stimulus in their environment. And this can sometimes be difficult for us to observe. Or know if you don't know the animal. But this is what we want to start to observe, so that way we can try to understand this individual dog doesn't like loud noises, or every time the door opens, or every time you go to walk through a door, they put the brakes on. These are all little kind of things that, or the light changes. I don't know if you guys have seen a dog that is really sensitive to light. You go in, they're stopping because it's dark in there, or it's a darker place they don't want to go in. And so, what is this particular dog sensitive to? Flooring is another big one that we see. The dog, like what that dog stops because they don't want to step on the slippery floor. It's shiny. So they're very sensitive to those little changes in their environment. And when you start to be aware of that, and sensitive yourself to that, you can start to figure out how to change that dog. I call it micro environments. And so for anybody training dogs here, and when you talk to some of the clients, they want to change the behavior, and you go and you look at it and like, wow, you got a lot of stuff going on here. The dog's all over the place, and there's almost too much going on in this dog's environment. There's too many choices for the dog. And so you just take that and you make it simpler for the dog so that the experience is more positive. So in the shelter environment, particularly, as you guys saw, if you walk through the kennels, there's things that we do to change those microenvironments a little bit. One of them is visual barriers, so we use those visual barriers in that way. So another thing we know about dogs is that behaviors change over time. So this is something else in terms of, so we're talking about doing our evaluations and our tests. What time do you do your evaluation on the animal? You want to watch. Hopefully, if you're doing things right, the dog is going to come into your facility, and there's going to be an adjustment period. Very rarely, I used to have, on our intake sheets, we do a basic kind of basic physical exam. Does the dog have all four legs and all that kind of stuff? How they're looking? Does the dog need to see a vet or not? I used to put on there, and they were probably more subjective terms, so I put on there like, is the dog acting friendly? And everybody would put friendly. Someone who she would always put friendly. In the college, why did you put friendly? Well, you didn't bite me. But if you handle that, very rarely will you see a dog that is going to be like, ooh, I like you, you're friendly. This is a new place. 99% of dogs that walk through this door, they have hard eyes. They're like, where am I? And they're not going to be exhibiting actually a lot of behaviors. They're going to be just holding in a lot. And so it's real important to observe how do they kind of come out of their shell and how can we facilitate that so that, it's happening in a very positive way. Dogs gravitate to safety and familiarity. This is really important, and I need to get this on video because I've seen it a number of times. So I'll be inside and we'll be evaluating a dog and doing some work, and I'll have a tech come in and say, hey, can you come help me get this dog, because they brought this dog outside. And you guys may have experienced this too. Right? If you have the dog inside, you can get the dog on a leash inside, and then you take them outside and there's more space. And so they're going to gravitate to what they feel is the safer spot. Maybe going inside their doghouse, completely avoiding you, and they're just scared. So I'll go out and say, okay, we'll go out and try to get this dog. And the second I go out there, that dog automatically goes right up to that technician. Why? Because that dog's more familiar with that person than they are with me. Because as an evaluator, I don't handle dogs, and I have the luxury of doing that just personnel-wise. I don't have to do that. But it's pretty neat to see that. And it's really, and then I'll show it. Occasionally I'll do adoption counseling, and so I'll bring the dog out, and the dog will be closer to me and interacting with me and not with the adopters. They're like, oh, you must feed him and take care of him a lot. I'm like, it's behavior evaluation, but I haven't really done all. This dog's been here for maybe a couple days. I don't really have that much of established relationship with this dog. So it's really important to kind of look at that.